we are going to start now. So, hello dear students, is the screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, today we go for another topic, which is the menstrual cycle. Okay. So, myself, Dr. Kishore Hello, Department of Zoology, Digboi College. Before going to this particular topic, just to remember the oogenesis process in the earlier class, recall the oogenesis process. Then we need to know about the cycle, which is known as a menstrual cycle. It is a 28-day cycle in case of the female. Okay. So before going to this particular topic, first of all, we have to know about few terms related to the menstrual cycle. Okay. So the first term is the menarche. Okay. So menarche is the first term, and second term is the menopause. Okay. So menarche means what? So menarche means the after the puberty, when a female individual starts her menstrual cycle for the first time. Okay, so after attaining the puberty, when a female individual starts her menstrual cycle for the first time, so this is known as menarche. Okay, so this is known as menarche. So basically the puberty attains at the age between 12 to 16 years. Okay, 12 years to the 16 years, the particular pubertal time is there. So in this time, so during 12 years, so when the first time a female individual go for her menstrual cycle, this particular time period is known as menarche. Okay. Then number 2, what is menopause? Okay. So menopause means what? So when the female individual stops her menstrual cycle. Okay. So when the female individual stops her menstrual cycle is known as the menopause. ठीक है से? So menopause basically attaining at the age of 50 to 55 years. Okay. So menopause attaining at the age of 50 to 55 years. Okay. So in this time, what happens? The menstrual cycle stops. Okay, and this condition is known as menopause. Okay, now you think about. So is the screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now see in the menarche, it started between 12 to 16 years. Okay, and menopause 50 to 55 years. Okay, so just to remember these years. So when for the first time in 12 years the menstrual cycle occurs, this is known as menarche for the first time. And menopause means when the menstrual cycle stops at the age of in between 50 to 55 years. Okay, now see just to think about. So if a girl attaining her menarche at 12 years, okay, and ending her up to 50 years, okay, that means menopause occurs in 50 years and menarche occur in the 12 years. Okay, so how many years are there in between 12 to 50? It is almost 38 years. Okay, so in this 38 years, for every month she is releasing one ovum. Okay, so during this 38 years period, for every month she is releasing one ovum. Now see, it is not a ovum, just to remember the term, it is known as secondary oocyte. Okay, so she is releasing secondary oocyte in every month for 38 years. Okay, now see, so in 1 year 12 months, 12 months in 1 year, for 38 years, sorry, for 38 years, how many ovums she released? How many ovums C released. Okay, so 12 into 38 কিমান হ'ব?
156.
হয়নে?
456.
Okay, this 456. So 456 ovums. Also not ovum, it is secondary oocyte. Just to remember, secondary oocyte. Okay. So in a total lifespan of 38 years, she is releasing 456 secondary oocyte. Okay, that means in the whole lifetime for a female individual, she need only 456 secondary oocytes. Okay, just to remember the term. So when the oogonias are formed, okay, so how many oogonias are there? It is almost 2 million. Remember, 2 million oogonias are there. 2 million. So out of this 2 million oogonia, only 456 secondary oocytes are released during her lifetime. Okay, just to remember. So that means what? So secondary oocyte number is very less. The number of secondary oocyte is very less, but oogonia are 2 million. Oogonia number 2 million, but secondary oocytes are very less. So basically, just to remember, in one ovary, 2,500 secondary oocytes are there. Oocytes, fully developed oocytes. Okay, fully developed secondary oocytes are there. What is the number? 2,500 in one ovary. Female having 2 ovaries, another ovary is there. That means 2,500 plus 2,500, total 5,000. So 5,000 secondary oocytes are there. Okay, so 5,000 secondary oocytes are there inside the ovaries. Okay, and from this 5,000, only 456 oocytes are released in the whole lifetime. Okay, so this is the main term related to the menstrual cycle. Okay, so ekhini bostu tumaloke monot rakhiba. Then you go for the next slide. Is basically the phases of the menstrual cycle. Phases. So what are the different phases? Okay, so just to remember, menstrual cycle having 4 different phases. Side phase thake. Okay, so first phase is known as menstrual phase. Second phase is known as follicular phase. Third is known as ovulatory phase, and fourth is known as secretory phase. So these 4 phases are there in the menstrual cycle. Okay, so for the first phase, which is known as menstrual phase, it is started from first day of menstrual cycle up to 5th day, for a total of 5 days. For a total of 5 days, this phase is going on from the first day up to 5th day. So this particular phase is known as menstrual phase. Okay, then the next phase, which is known as a follicular phase. Now what is follicular phase? So follicular phase is started from the 6th day. So prothom 5 din tumar ki hol menstrual cycle gusi gol, then starting from the 6th day up to 14th day. 6th day up to 14th day, this condition is this particular period is known as follicular phase. So kiman din hobo yate? 4 plus 4, 8 days. 8 days. So 8 days for the follicular phase. Okay, then third one is the ovulatory phase. Ovulatory phase. So this phase is only for 1 day. Okay, ovulatory phase is only for 1 day, and this is occurring on the 14th day of the 14th day of the menstrual cycle. So it is occurring only for 1 day. Okay, in the 14th day. Okay, then number 4, secretory phase. So this phase is starting from 15th day up to 28th day. Okay, so 15 dinor pora start hobo up to 28th day loke cholibo. This is the secretory phase. Okay, so etu ketia hobo tumar kiman dinor karone hobo? Phale 5 din, ifale 8 din, 13 din. So 13 days. So it is for 13 days. Okay, so total is the 28 days. Okay, so the whole 28 days menstrual cycle can be divided into 4 different groups. Okay, number 1 is the menstrual phase, number 2 is the follicular phase, number 3 is the ovulatory phase, and number 4 is the secretory phase. Okay, so these 4 phases are here. Okay, so প্ৰথমে মন কৰিবা the first 5 days, okay, starting from 1 day up to 5th day, the first 5 day is known as the menstrual phase. Okay, first 5 days is the known as the menstrual phase. So starting hobo tomare 0 pora, the starting from 0 up to 5 days first din loke hobo, thik ase. So first 5 day belongs to the menstrual phase. Okay, so what is happening in this particular 5 days? A prothom 5 dinot ki hoy, thik ase. So now see, in this 5 days, you see, this is the lining of the endometrium. Just to remember, endometrium is a membrane which is found in the in the uterus. So uterus having a particular outer membrane which is known as endometrium. Okay, so in the endometrium, this particular area which is known as the endometrium lining, this lining is what? Completely detached of, it is releasing what? All the blood vessels are ruptured. Okay, so all the blood vessels which is present in the lining of the endometrium, it is completely ruptured, and these ruptured blood vessels, they release some amount of blood, and this blood is going out to the outside along with a what? Along with the particular ovum. Actually not a ovum, this is a secondary oocyte. So along with the secondary oocyte, all the blood, it is going outside. Okay, because the lining to kenuka asile tomar monot asal sage. So this is the endometrium, like that. So this is the endometrium lining. So this lining is completely detached, okay, shed off. Okay, so when this lining is completely shed off, eta ki hobo? They release numerous amount of blood. Okay, so this blood is coming out along with the particular cell, okay, which is known as the which is known as what? Which is known as the secondary oocyte. So this secondary oocyte, suppose, so this is released along with the blood to the outside. So this particular phase is still for 5 days. Okay, 5 dinor kane thakibo, and this cycle is known as menstrual phase. Okay, menstrual phase of the menstrual cycle. Okay, it is last for only 5 days. Okol 5 dinor kane cholibo. Only 5 days. Okay, then from the 6th day, 6 number dinor pora start hobo, from the 6th day up to 14th day, from the 6th day up to 14th day, the phase is known as follicular phase. Okay, the phase is known as follicular phase. So in the follicular phase, the ruptured endometrium again start developing. Okay, so tar jetu blood vessel all prothom 5 dinot jetu ruptured hoi ulai goisile, okay, the endometrium is again start developing into a new blood vessels. Okay, ako tar notuke blood vessels start ho arambho hobo, thik ase, in this follicular phase. Okay, at the same time, aru ekei homoyne ki hobo, some follicles are start development. Okay, ita soa ami je koisilu primordial follicle is there, secondary follicle is there, Graafian follicle is there. Okay, so these follicles are different phases, beleg phase thake, hoine nohoy. So these follicles are start developing into a Graafian follicle. Okay, just to remember, only one follicle, not all follicle. Matro eta follicle develop hobo. Suppose one follicle is at primary follicle, the primary follicle is converted into the secondary follicle, and the secondary follicle is converted into the Graafian follicle. Okay, during this time frame, and this time frame is known as follicular phase, and it is started from 6th day up to 14th day. ঠিক আছে, 6 নম্বৰ দিনত আৰম্ভ হ'ব আৰু শেষ হ'ব 14 ডেত শেষ হ'ব। ঠিক আছে, so in this period one follicle is developed. Okay, from primary follicle it is going for the secondary follicle, and secondary follicle going for the Graafian follicle, like that. Okay, so it is changes their structure within this follicular phase. So follicular phase only last for 6th day to the 14th day. Today kiman time hobo almost ifale 4 din ifale 4 din 8 din. So it is last for only 8 days. So during these 8 days one follicle is matured. Okay, up to Graafian follicle. So Graafian follicle hoi jabo attached follicle koi pele. ঠিক আছে, so this particular time period is known as follicular phase. Okay, so next at the 14th day jeta 14 number din hobo tat ki hobo so etia. So at the 14th day, this particular day, this is known as ki bole koy ovulatory phase. Ovulatory phase. This condition is known as ovulatory phase. It is last for only 1 day. Edinor karone hobo. It is last for only for 1 day. Okay, so during this 14th day ovulation takes place. That's why this phase is known as ovulatory phase. ঠিক আছে, এই phase to ovulatory phase বুলি কিয় কলে, আৰু it is last for only 1 days because in this particular time period the female release one secondary oocyte from the Graafian follicle. Remember in the মনত আছে নহয় এনেকুৱা আছিল স্ট্ৰাকচাৰটো। So suppose this is the ovary. So ovary tumar beleg size or follicles asile, they start developing, and finally suppose primary to secondary, secondary to the tertiary, they form a tertiary follicle. Okay, and tertiary follicle release the ovum to the outside. This is the secondary oocyte. The secondary oocyte is released from the Graafian follicle. So Graafian follicle release the secondary oocyte to the outside. Okay, so this is happening on the 14th day. Just to remember, in the 14th day ovulation takes place. Aru edinor karone hobo. ঠিক আছে, just to remember it is only for 1 day. Then from the 15th day up to 28th day, এটা 15 দিনৰ পৰা start হ'ব এটো আৰু কিমানলৈ থাকিব up to 28th day লগে থাকিব। Okay, so this phase is known as luteal phase. Luteal phase বুলি কয়, or sometimes it is also known as secretory phase. Secretory phase. ঠিক আছে, ইয়াক secretory phase বুলিও কয় আৰু কেতিয়াবা কি বুলি কয় luteal phase বুলিও কব। Okay, so luteal phase or secretory phase same. So it is started from 15 day and remain up to 28th day. Okay, and this is the longest period. Luteal phase is longest period. কিমান দিনৰ কাৰণে হ'ব? Almost 13 days. 13 দিনৰ কাৰণে হ'ব। It is almost 13 days. Okay, so this period is known as luteal phase, and this phase is very important. Okay, this luteal phase is very important. It is what তোমালোকে এটা মই কথা কৈছিলো মনত আছে চাগে। So when the Graafian follicle release the secondary oocyte, the Graafian follicle is converted into a new structure. The Graafian follicle is converted into a new structure, and the new structure is known as what? It is known as corpus luteum. Remember, the Graafian follicle is changes into a new structure, and this new structure is known as like this. This is known as corpus luteum. Okay, so Graafian follicle is converted into the corpus luteum. Okay. Then what happened? The corpus luteum start secreting one hormone. The corpus luteum start secreting one hormone which is known as progesterone. Okay. So corpus luteum secrete the progesterone hormone. And what is the function of progesterone hormone? So progesterone hormone, just to remember, it maintains the pregnancy. That's why progesterone hormone is also known as pregnancy hormone. Pregnancy hormone boli koy progesterone hormone. So this is released from the corpus luteum. Okay. So what is the function of this progesterone hormone? So here function ki hobo so idea. The function of the progesterone hormone is that the endometrium lining, which is having the blood vessels, which is vascularized. So this particular blood vessel again developing new blood vessels, so that it becomes very thicker and looks like a bed where the newly developed zygote can be embedded. Okay, so endometrium likely becomes thicker. So that's why in the follicular phase it is slightly thicker is there, thickness to beshi nasile kom asile, but when it attains the luteal phase, you see the thickness is going up. Very good. The thickness is going up to a maximum. So blood vessels are growing during this luteal phase in the endometrium is very high. Okay. So newly formed blood vessels are developed in the endometrium lining, so that it becomes thicker. Okay. And newly developed zygote can be embedded in the thickness of the endometrium. That's why it becomes thicker. Okay. So progesterone hormone function is that progesterone hormones maintains the endometrium lining. Okay, progesterone hormone helps in the maintaining of endometrium lining, so that it becomes vascularized and becomes thicker. Okay, that's why this hormone is released after ovulation. Ovulation or pisode release hoy hormone to agote no hoy. ঠিক আছে, আগতে তার ব্লাডত তার পরিমাণটো একেবাৰে কম থাকে, very less, but after ovulation the hormone secretion is very high. Okay, and this hormone maintains the endometrium lining. Okay, so this is the function of corpus luteum. Okay, now question is that if মই আগতে কৈছিলো না তোমাৰ মনত আছে চাগে, if there is no fertilization, যদি fertilization নহয় তেতিয়া কি হ'ব? So if there is no fertilization, because see in the ovulation they release one ovum, okay, and this ovum is moving through the fallopian tube and reaching to the ampulla. Ampulla পাবো নহয়, ampulla of the fallopian tube, ampulla. So in the ampulla, if sperms are not coming to the ampulla, okay, and ovulation not occurs, or if fertilization not occurs, যদি fertilization নহয় তেতিয়া কি হ'ব? So in this condition the ovum is moving to the uterus. Uterus আহিব নহয়, through the fallopian tube the ovum is moving to the uterus, but it is not a fertilized ovum. It is fertilized নহয়, it is a non-fertilized ovum. So in this condition কি হ'ব? The corpus luteum changes to a new structure which is known as corpus albicans. Corpus albicans. Albican, CAN. Corpus albicans. Okay, so corpus luteum changes to the corpus albicans. And what is the function of corpus albicans? Corpus albicans cannot secrete the progesterone hormone. So corpus albicans কি কৰিব নোৱাৰে? Progesterone hormone secrete কৰিব নোৱাৰে, because it is a degenerated form of the corpus luteum. So corpus luteum to degenerate হৈ পেলে কি বনাব? Corpus albicans হ'ব, and corpus albicans cannot secrete the progesterone hormone. Okay, that means যদি progesterone hormone release কৰিব নোৱাৰে তেতিয়া কি হ'ব? That means progesterone hormone, I already know this is the pregnancy hormone. So if progesterone hormone stop releasing from the corpus albicans, from the corpus luteum, then what happened? Then the endometrium lining is shed off. আকৌ ফাটি যাব কাৰণ হি আগতে ধুনিয়াকে বনিছিল নহয়. It is developed due to the progesterone hormone. If progesterone hormone falls down in the blood, then the endometrium lining again start shed off. It is shedding off and they produce some blood, and along with this blood the unfertilized ovum is released to the outside. That means again it started the menstrual phase. Okay, and this cycle is continued. After the secretory phase, again it started the menstrual phase. Ako first din opora start hobo. From 1 day to the 5th day, again the menstrual phase started. So just like the whole menstrual cycle is going on for every 28 days. Okay. Now most important, okay, you have to know about the hormonal regulation. The hormonal regulation during the menstrual cycle. Okay. So just to remember, the menstrual cycle is controlled by 4 different hormones. The menstrual cycle is controlled by 4 different types of hormones. Okay, now what are these hormones? Number 1, this one, FSH. Number 1 is the FSH. Number 2 is the estrogen. Estrogen is the number 2. Number 3 is the LH. LH is the number 3. And number 4 is the progesterone. This is the number 4. Okay, so these 4 hormones are very important for the menstrual cycle go on. ठीक है sir? So now see, all the hormones having different concentration level in the blood. Okay, during the whole phase of the menstrual cycle. ठीक है sir? So during the whole phase of the menstrual cycle, the concentration of each hormone is different. Okay. Now see, in this first phase, which is known as a menstrual phase, the first phase is known as a menstrual phase. So in the menstrual phase, what happening? For the 5 days, you see the concentration of 4 different hormones. That's why the concentration of FSH is very high. The concentration of FSH is high, but the concentration of LH, the concentration of estrogen and concentration of progesterone is very low. You see, they are all in the baseline. But FSH is high. Okay. The question is that why FSH hormone is very high? Because FSH means follicular stimulating hormone. Okay, just to remember. So FSH molecule is known as hormone is known as follicular stimulating hormone. So FSH stimulate one follicle. FSH stimulate one follicle so that it can convert it into the secondary follicle, then convert into the tertiary follicle. ठीक है sir? So primary para secondary hobo, secondary para tertiary hobo. ठीक है sir? That's why FSH hormone concentration is high. সেইকাৰণে তাৰ কনসেন্ট্ৰেশনটো হাই থাকে সেইকাৰণে কি কৰিব হি এটা ফলিকুলক স্টিমুলেট কৰিব and the follicle is start to form what changes. The structure is changes from primary to secondary, secondary to tertiary. It is changes their structure. So this is the function of follicular stimulating hormone, and follicular stimulating hormone is secreted from the pituitary gland. Just to remember, this is secreted from the pituitary gland. So pituitary gland having the anterior pituitary. So pituitary gland having 3 structures. 3 structure asil na pituitary gland or anterior, then this is the intermediate, and this is the posterior. Anterior, intermediate, and this is the posterior. So from the anterior pituitary, FSH hormone is released. Okay, so from the anterior pituitary gland, FSH hormone is released. So FSH hormones stimulate the newly developed primary follicle into tertiary follicle, convert koribo hi. Okay, but this needs some times because potokte nohoy. FSH hormone jetia khunda mariba ta follicular, I logo lage change hoy na jay. They need some time. Kiman samoy lagibo? up to 14th day. 14 নম্বৰ দিনলৈকে যিমান সময় লাগিব গোটেইখিনি সময় লাগিব. Okay, so it is starting from 0 day up to 14th day for the conversion of primary follicle into tertiary follicle. Just to remember, only one follicle is developed, not maximum. Basic follicle develop no hoy because one follicle release one secondary oocyte. Okay, because in every 28 day cycle only one secondary oocyte is released. Okay, that's why only one follicle is stimulated by the FSH hormone. Okay, then the concentration of other hormone is very less. I already mentioned this is. Then see in the next phase, which is known as follicular phase. So what is happening in the follicular phase? You see, so in the follicular phase, the concentration of this estrogen is high. It becomes higher. The concentration of estrogen becomes higher. So barigol soa to halodia color line to soa. The concentration of estrogen is going higher. Yaloke barigol. ठीक है. And the concentration of FSH slightly fall. Okman komi jabo. FSH slightly fall. Then again it is higher in the 13th day. Ako okman barigol 13th day. ঠিক আছে. প্ৰথমতে বাঢ়ি আছিল আকৌ fall হল, then again rise in the 13th day. Okay, then see LH hormone, most important. You see the LH hormone is going very low in the whole period, low. Then suddenly in the 13th day it is going very high. You see, up to this it is at its peak at the 13th day. 13 নম্বৰ দিনত হি বহুত ওপৰলৈকে উঠি যাব. Okay, then see the progesterone hormone, it remains same. It nabare, it remains same up to the follicular phase. Yat eke dekhi yalage eke ase. So I already said progesterone hormone is released from the corpus luteum, and corpus luteum is formed after ovulation. Hoy na hoy, corpus luteum is formed after ovulation. That's why progesterone hormone is released after ovulation. Hekare tar concentration to kom ase, soa very low, kom ase. Etia soa the first hormone estrogen is going up. So why estrogen hormone is going up in this phase? Because just to remember, estrogen hormone is released from where? From the follicle. Remember, I already said estrogen hormone is released from the follicular cells present in the follicle. ঠিক আছে? So follicle is stimulated by the FSH. So follicle is stimulated by the FSH, and the follicle is converted into the primary follicle to secondary follicle to tertiary follicle. Convert hoye ase. Okay, so during this conversion the cells are developing. So when the cells are developing, these cells having some inner lining cell which is known as the follicular cells. You see, some cells are there, small cells. So these are known as follicular cells. Okay, so this follicular cell starts secreting the estrogen. So when they secreting estrogen, it level going up, and the estrogen hormone ki korbo etia? So estrogen hormone maintaining the menstrual cycle. Estrogen hormone now maintaining the menstrual cycle along with the blood vessels which is formed in the endometrium. It is also maintained by the estrogen. Okay, the blood vessels which is formed in the endometrium lining, it is also formed with the help of estrogen hormone, because in this time progesterone hormone is not there. There is no progesterone hormone, and this duty is taken up by the estrogen hormone. So estrogen hormone start developing the lining of the endometrium. That's why estrogen hormone is going up. Okay, then FSH is going fall, and at 13th day it is again going up. Okay, at 13th day it is again going up. So question is that why FSH hormone again going peak at 13th day? 13th day ako peak ot kyo gusi gol? Why? Because in the 13th day is the important day for a particular follicle. 13th day is very important for a particular follicle, because in the 13th day the secondary follicle converted into the tertiary follicle. in the 13th day, the secondary follicle converted into the tertiary follicle. And what is tertiary follicle? Tertiary follicle is a Graafian follicle. And inside the Graafian follicle, secondary oocyte is there. Okay, that's why in the 13th day, the Graafian follicle is fully matured. Okay, and this Graafian follicle releasing the ovum to the outside in the 14th day. Okay, so the number did not release koriba, but up to 13th day it is completely matured. Okay, and this maturity is formed due to the peak of FSH hormone. FSH hormone je peak hoy gol, heikane ki hol tumar Graafian follicle is completely matured at the 13th day, and it is completely ready to secrete the secondary oocyte to the outside. Okay, but just to remember, it is cannot secrete the secondary oocyte to the outside if LH hormone is not there. Okay, because LH hormone is the most important hormone for ovulation. Okay, so tomorrow kyoda question dibo pare, name the hormone which is important for ovulation. Tite ki likhiba? LH hormone, luteinizing hormone. This is also released from the anterior pituitary gland. It is also released from the anterior pituitary gland, which is known as LH hormone. Okay, so most important function is that when LH hormone attain its peak, jetia peak pabo on the 13th day. Just to remember, when the LH hormone attain its peak on the 13th day, then in the 14th day, the Graafian follicle release the ovum to the outside. ঠিক আছে, জিদিনাখন পিক পাব তাৰ পিছদিনাখনে ৰিলিজ কৰিব, সেইটো মনত ৰাখিবা। যদি আজি যদি পিক হৈছে এলএইচৰ, অহাকালি ওভুলেশন হ'বই। ঠিক আছে, দিস ইজ দ্য ইম্পৰ্টেন্ট পইণ্ট অফ দ্য এলএইচ হৰমন। ওকে, সো এলএইচ হৰমন কেতিয়া পিক পাব? বিফোৰ ওভুলেশন আৰু বিফোৰ 24 আৱাৰ্স। ওকে, যদি তোমাৰ 14 ডে যদি ওভুলেশন হ'ব লাগে, এলএইচৰ পিক পাব 13 ডেট। ঠিক আছে, and in the 13th day also peak of the FSH or peak pabo, duotai peak pabo, FSH also in peak, LH also in peak, both are in peak at the 13th day. ঠিক আছে, আৰু তাৰ পিছতে তোমাৰ কি হ'ব? In the 14th day ovulation occurs. ঠিক আছে, তাৰ পিছত সোৱা তোমাৰ কি হ'ল? So ovulation occurs in the 14th day, which is known as ovulatory phase. Okay, so in the ovulatory phase কি হ'ল সোৱা? The peak of LH is going down, তলত নামি গ'ল, LH তলত নামি গ'ল, সোৱা একেবাৰে তলত নামি গ'ল, এনেকে this is going flat হৈ গ'ল। The peak of FSH ওপৰত উঠিছিলে, this is going down, fall down হৈ গ'ল, সোৱা going down। Okay, now see estrogen, it is peak over here, it is again going down, আকৌ কমি গ'ল এইটো। That means the concentration of LH, the concentration of estrogen, and the concentration of FSH all are fall down in the 14th day. For goteketa no tolot nami jab. Okay, so when the concentration of all these three hormones are fall down, at this point ovulation occurs. ঠিক আছে, এই তিনটা তলত নামিব লাগিব, যেটা তলতলে নামিব তেতিয়া ovulation হ'ব। ঠিক আছে, 13 ডেট কি হ'ব? Peak of LH, peak of FSH, and a 14 day fall down of LH, fall down of FSH, and ovulation occurs. So ovulation occurs on the 14th day. Okay, then after ovulation ki hobo etia? So after ovulation, I already said the the Graafian follicle converted into the corpus luteum hoy gol. Okay, and the phase is known as Luteal Phase or Secretory Phase, eketai kotha। So in this phase, after ovulation, the corpus luteum start secreting another hormone which is known as progesterone. So progesterone is released from the corpus luteum. That's why after 14 day progesterone is going up. So kiman bari gol? Progesterone hormone is going up. Okay, after 14 day it is going into peak because corpus luteum secrete the progesterone hormone. And what is the function of progesterone? I already said they help in the thickening of the endometrium lining. So this much thick up to 14 day. Now see after 14 day, you see the thickness is going up. It is very thick after 14 days because of this particular hormone. So progesterone hormone acting on this particular lining, and the lining is going thick and going up and up. That means most number of blood vessels are generating in the endometrium lining with the help of the progesterone hormone. Okay. Then see, at the same time, estrogen hormone again going up. Estrogen hormone to ako barise so. Estrogen hormone also going up at this point. So why estrogen hormone is going up? Because to maintain the lining, we need two hormones. I already said, you see, over here there is no progesterone, but this lining is maintained by estrogen. That's why estrogen is going up, because there is no progesterone. Estrogen is going up to maintain the lining. Okay, so to maintain this lining also we need two hormones. First we need a progesterone, we also need the estrogen. That's why estrogen again going up to maintain the lining of this particular endometrium. Okay, that's why progesterone and estrogen both are going up in the luteal phase or in the secretory phase, but the concentration of LH and concentration of FSH is going down. So these are going down, but concentration of estrogen and concentration of progesterone going up. So then see next important point. So when if there is no if the ovum secondary oocyte is not fertilized, or if the ovum is not fertilized, then what happens? So if there is no fertilization occurs, that means corpus luteum converted into the corpus albicans. It is converted into the corpus albicans. Convert হৈ গল, and corpus albicans cannot secrete a progesterone. He progesterone secrete কৰিব নোৱাৰে. That means the progesterone is going fall. So তলত নামি গল, progesterone is fall down. একেবাৰে তলত গুচি গল. Estrogen again going to fall down. Estrogen নামি গল তলৰ ফালে. Okay, because there is no fertilization. So just to remember, if there is no fertilization, the progesterone hormone and estrogen both are fall down. Estrogen also fall down, progesterone also fall down if there is no fertilization. Or if there is a fertilization, it remain peak. The peak it remain as a peak. If there is fertilization, but if there is no fertilization, it is fall down. It is also fall down. Okay, just to remember the important point. When the progesterone hormone and the estrogen hormone fall down at the same time. Just to remember, when the progesterone hormone and estrogen hormone both are fall down at the same time, in this point, the next cycle, which is known as menstrual cycle, started. Okay, that this is the ending of the luteal phase, again starting of the menstrual phase. Ako etu start hobo. Aru etu start etu phase ot ki hoisile? The shedding off of the lining of the endometrium. So endometrium lining to fati jabo, they release the blood, and along with the blood, they release the ovum to the outside. Okay, so the release of ovum and the shedding of the endometrium, it is controlled by two hormones. These two hormones are known as progesterone and estrogen. The fall down of progesterone and fall down of estrogen, at this point, they stimulated the menstrual phase. And menstrual phase means the shedding of the lining of the endometrium, and then they release the blood along with the ovum to the outside. Okay, so this is all about the menstrual cycle, and I hope you all understood.